Were you your first stop here?
I'm so fresh. Jim
Yeah.
is so fresh. I'm not going to be this fresh after for Nikki Glaser.
I never feel fresh on my first one. I always feel like just I'm too tired.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited to see you.
I hate it.
You look wide awake.
I know. I've been up. I got up early. It's raining. I had to run in the rain a little bit.
Oh, is
to
it
get
raining
here.
hard?
Woke me up. Not hard, but enough to wake you up.
I like your. I haven't read the whole book, but it's actually really great. It's all photos of Garry Shandling and little like. I like that it's an easy thing to peruse, so you
Yes.
can pick it up from the middle and look at it. There's a picture in here I'm obsessed with. It's
a cock.
I said picture, not a meal. It's Shandling, Letterman, Leno, and Carson. What a great picture.
I know. Isn't that wild that that existed? And also Garry has a completely different attitude than them. Like, they're kind of so in their showbiz moment, and he's just kind of staring off, like, in his own space. It's a really cool.
I wish I knew
picture.
him. Sarah Silverman introduced me to him once going into the cellar, and I think that's the only time I ever met him. I wish I would have known him.
How was he when you met him?
He was fine. He said hello,
Yes.
and he was,
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean when you say that? How was he?
How was he? Well, that was always the thing with Garry, is like there were many different versions of Garry. Sometimes Garry was really like shut down and he might not be like super warm Garry. Like, he wouldn't be mean, but just might be in his own head in a way where people were like, what just happened?
Right.
And other times he would just be super sweet and talk to you for a really long time.
I guess because she introduced me, it was like a mutual friend. It was maybe it was less awkward, but he seemed he was friendly. I think I just went in and went on, but he was always a guy. I remember his first. I want to say it was one of his first Tonight shows when Joan Rivers was guest hosting, and I taped it off my TV onto a cassette recorder and listened to it for years. Like, I loved him.
He was the best guest host out of all of them.
Yeah.
And he didn't take it because of his show. Is that the reason? Because he wanted to do.
He was hosting, him and Leno were alternating, filling in for Johnny when Johnny would go on vacation. And he was also doing It's Garry Shandling's show. And then he just said, like, I'm too tired. I can't do it. Yeah. And he had this thing where he wanted to be amazing in a way that I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk. Like, he was like, I'm not going to do the Tonight Show unless I'm just crushing it. And if I'm tired, I won't. So then I'm just not going to do it.
I wish Rich had that. Just mediocre at everything.
Especially picking friends.
But he was, and that's how he was with Sanders and everyone. He was, a genius, but also driving everybody crazy because his bar was so high. And if he couldn't get to his bar, really miserable and angry.
Sometimes comics are weird too. It's like we set a bar that's high, and yet in a way we know we're not going to achieve it. But there's something comfortable in feeling miserable sometimes for us too.
Yes.
I think.
I just want to get back in the improvs.
Yeah.
After
get Addison going.
After he, because I don't remember back this one. After he started guest hosting, did he still come on and do stand-up spots after that? He did.
Yeah, he still went on, and he was always crazy funny and would prepare for it like he was hosting the Oscars. It was just a level of care that, again, there are people who do it like that, but it was obsessive. I mean, that was the joke with him, is that he would have pads with tons of papers, and literally when he's walking out on the Tonight Show, you see him like putting the papers like into his pockets, like he's writing till the second he walks out.
His family gave you access to all this stuff, right? The pictures, the notes. Was there any stuff where they were like, we would rather you don't see that?
Well, I mean, it was 30 years of journals, so there's certainly sections where you were like, well, I guess probably this doesn't go in the book.
Did you read stuff that he wouldn't have wanted you to read?
He probably wouldn't want me to read a lot of it, I guess. I mean, I think, he was talking about making a documentary about the journals himself. So I knew he wanted to do it. But,
Right.
Other than just like a couple of, girlfriend issues or
Where did you
things like that, there wasn't, for 30 years, there wasn't much that was embarrassing at all. I mean, shockingly so.
Were you nervous going into it? Like, if I had to read one of my closest friends' personal writings, I'd be like, oh, no. Please don't let me see
especially
anything.
yours.
Yeah, that would be a very different journal.
Want more Jim and Sam? Catch up with full episodes and interviews from celebrity guests anytime on demand using the SiriusXM app.